Hi, this is Janos, it's Real Bird Audio, and it's time to talk about speakers again, loudspeakers. And Mr. Giggles wrote a really wonderful comment. So, as you see now, it's time for me to answer the comments in videos, and it's really awesome. I like it. Janos, you have a lot of videos here. How about some independent reviews? For example, have you let any highly experienced listeners come to your place to check out the wall speaker, the voice of Lancelot speaker, or we could say voice of living room speaker? I can tell you that I have heard hundreds of horn speakers in my life and was friends with world-renowned Dr. Edgar, who designed the Edgar horn speaker. They have been independently reviewed a million times. I heard his speakers with TAD beryllium drivers from Japan. I have been going to audio shows in Southern California for years, but your designs, when you proclaim them as great, I ask the question, compared to what? What is your point of reference that makes you think you have designed something brilliant? So I think Mr. Giggles asked some really important question, that is how to calibrate my point of reference. So let me share on that. So first of all, Dr. Bruce Edgar, he unfortunately has passed away recently. So because now he knows, as you know, about the Edgar horns, I was really fortunate that one of my friends, he has the big Edgar horn system with the big refrigerator size horn stub. So that is one of my reference. It's an absolutely stellar, fantastic system. So that is one of my references. I have also heard another of Dr. Bruce Edgar's speakers. Another friend of mine had those, which were custom designed by him for my friend. That's another reference. Also, Voice of the Theater A5s that were really, I would say, extremely highly optimized crossovers, driver selection, and just like sound that is beyond belief of most people. That's another of my references. And now my second, so these are what I compare the voice of Lancelot against. And I hope now it will be more clear what is it that I'm talking about, what kind of quality. And now, any highly experienced listeners come to your place and check out the voice of Lancelot speaker. So I would like to mention a couple of my friends. One of them, he has been a very long time Altec fan, and he has been listening to Voice of the Theater and Big JBRs for over 30 years, and he knows them extremely well. And he has a pair of the same drivers that I have, the 515C and 288. I think he has the H series, which is the last of the Alnicos. And he wanted to build the A5 for himself. And when he heard the voice of the Lancelot, then he said that he wants to build the voice of the Lancelot instead of the A5. So I think that's, I cannot give any higher recommendation than that a lifetime Voice of the Theater aficionado would rather choose to build the wall than the VOT. And but I have to add that when he listened to the voice of Lancelot, he preferred with the compression driver firing at us and not in an omnidirectional way. But he said that when it fires at us without the horn, it's as good as the Voice of the Theater with the horn. But with the following caveat, that for the voice of the theater you need a huge room and you need to be far away from the speakers for the sound to make that glorious unified field. And in a living room setup I have the speakers 3 meters away from me, and in that setup, if the bare compression drivers are firing at me, it has the same experience as you get from the voice of the theater cabinets in a large room, but in a smaller space. And even we could say that you even have a higher palpability, maybe higher than the A5s. It's really freakish. So, like for example, there are some speaker systems that are mainstream, and we are talking about many $1 million speakers and setups, and they like image like extremely sharp and like the most hyper detailed. So people like to think about the Wilson Audio Chronosonic, driven by something like Dan D'Agostino or something that level, as the ultimate detail retrieval machine. Now, if you put that on steroids, that's what you get when you have the compression driver firing at you. Then the detail level is even higher than the Dr. Edgar's big horn system. So, however, I prefer that version when the compression driver is firing up, and then you have a much more relaxed session. That it's like you don't feel that you are on steroids, and everything is just like you are bombarded with so much information that it's just insane. The brain cannot handle it. It's just you kind of, actually my head got scrambled, but this friend of mine, Jimmy, he can take it. He can listen to hours, and then he was cranking it like 115 dB SPI, just like immensely loud. Like Nelly was up here with Kintaro upstairs. They closed the door, so different floor, beyond closed doors, and the SPI was such that they got traumatized from the volume through closed doors. And but there are some people who really are into the voice of the theater system, and they really crank that up. And those of us who have not experienced voice of the theater, you don't know what real dynamics is, what super high SPL without distortion is. And if you heard like Wilson audio systems, they cannot do that. They cannot do super loud without distortion. They start compressing in the high frequencies really badly. So if you want to push them beyond 100 dB, that's why you get extreme fatigue, because the highs are getting messy. But the voice of the theater, it can do it, that you can push it to 115 dB or more, and the high stays still crisp. And the same thing is true for the voice of Lancelot as well. And they were just cranking it as if they would crank an A5, and I got immense thumbs up for that. And I want to mention one more reference. One of my friends who actually knew the late Dr. Edgar, and actually he was that person who was mentoring the late Dr. Edgar on how to calculate horn dimensions. So he was Bruce Edgar's mentor, basically, and he told me that he prefers how the voice of Lancelot presents image and space to everything else, and he is a really huge horn and compression driver aficionado, and he's been researching them the entire life. And he has a collection of, I think, like over 200 pairs of compression drivers and tweeters, and he told me that if he was to choose, then he would choose what I'm doing now. with my speakers. So I think I have the very highest recommendations from those friends of mine who are experienced listeners and who have a lifetime of experience with the Altec sound, with horn design. And I can tell you guys that I do not have such experience with the Altec horns and Altec systems, Altec drivers. I'm a relative noob to that area. I really dug myself deep into the 288 compression driver and the 515 woofer. But if you ask me, like, Altec like model 19, what do I do with the crossover to make it better? How does it sound compared to the Valencia? I don't know. I marginally have heard them in a few times, never played around with them, never modified them, never had them in my home. And so that's it. I'm not much experienced what to do with them, because I focused on the 288 and the 515, and what my friends say, who are the most qualified in the subject, they're giving me a huge thumbs up, and I think that that's really, really rewarding for me. And so I think this is my point of reference, and I think this is why my friends think that I'm onto something good, and something that's really, really worth sharing. Yeah, I think that's it. But really, I want to share it because I think I want to share this experience that I have with them, and I want all of you to be able to come close to such experience. And what I'm sharing is how to extend this experience to other drivers, other cabinet designs, what you can do to other speakers to help them towards this path that, in my experience, culminates with the voice of Lancelot at the top. And so thank you, Mr. Giggles, for this wonderful question. I hope I really answered it, and I have more friends who have heard them, but not much more, because I built them at the beginning of the pandemic, and since then, basically, they were the only ones who heard them. I didn't have anyone else invited in my home. I had maybe like 10 people total in the past 10 years, and that's it, not more. But when I will have more of my friends over, I will let them share. I think maybe what I should also do is that I should get my buddy Irvin and interview him. So I will have him come over here, and we'll have a chat. So I want to do something like that for Christmas maybe. Let's hope that he will be on the island at that time, and we can get together and just, talk about audio. Or maybe, what do you guys think? Would you like to have that for me to make a live session? So with him here, Irvin here, and it's the two of us, and you can ask us, you can ask me, and you can ask him in person the questions you want to ask about his impressions on the voice of Lancelot and about other stuff, how he thinks about audio, what he thinks, what I'm doing to things. Is it really work, what I'm claiming to say? Because, for example, you remember the Michael Yee amplifier, that is his amplifier. And I also have sitting right there a big Conrad Johnson solid state amplifier. That's also his amp. So I'm going to show that, how it sounds with the Cube Audio drivers. One of my dreams and Irvin's dreams was to show how it sounds with the voice of Lancelot, but I have over tweaked the voice of Lancelot and I cannot hook it up. So I will have to come up with a creative way of how to hook it up to the CJ, but I really want to do that because Erwin, he's really, really curious to hear how they sound with the CJ when you put some really nice high power solid state. That's not just any high power solid state, but this was my late mentor's Stu Ono's favorite solid state amplifier, and it was modified by Stu, and it is the last of Stu's amp that's been modified by him. And I think it would be a really nice idea to share how it sounds with you. And I really hope that I will find my tube microphone and I can record it and share it with you, how it sounds. And then there will be more sound samples happening, but don't quote me on that yet, because I've been looking for the darn microphone for the past 3 weeks and I can't find it. I lost it in the house somewhere. Anyway, just send me some positive energy so that I find the tube mic. So thank you, Mr. Giggles, for your awesome question. Please like, subscribe, have an amazing day. Bye bye.